In the late winter of 1891, England felt suspended between two worlds. Science was advancing, but belief still ruled daily life. Electricity had begun to illuminate city streets, yet most homes still relied on gas lamps that flickered unpredictably, casting long shadows on wallpapered walls. Medicine could set bones and treat infections, but the human mind remained largely unexplored territory. When people encountered behavior they couldn't explain, they didn't look to textbooks. They looked to whispers. Harrogate was the kind of town where whispers traveled faster than facts. Fog rolled in from the surrounding fields almost every evening, muffling sound and blurring distance. People locked their doors early, not because crime was common, but because uncertainty was. It was here that Clara Whitmore lived her entire life, never once giving anyone a reason to remember her name. Clara was 21 years old in March of that year. She was of average height, slight in frame, with dark hair worn neatly back and pale skin that rarely saw sunlight beyond her daily walk to work. Her life followed patterns so consistent they bordered on ritual. She rose at the same hour each morning, left the house at precisely 8:10, and returned before sunset without exception. She assisted her aunt in a millinery shop, where she stitched linings, counted inventory, and spoke only when spoken to. Those who knew her struggled later to find anything remarkable to say. Her mother described her as sensible to a fault. A childhood friend once wrote that Clara worried about the future, but only in practical ways: money, weather, marriage. Even the local vicar remembered her as attentive but distant, present in body but rarely in spirit. Nothing about her suggested drama, illness, or instability. That normality would later become the most disturbing detail of all. On the evening of March 6th, Clara sat at the family dining table while rain tapped against the windows. The gas lamp above them hummed softly, its light wavering. In the middle of the meal, without raising her voice or changing her expression, she placed her fork down and calmly told her father that he would miss the 6:12 train the following morning. The statement was so specific it drew laughter. Her father had worked for the railway for 15 years and had never once missed a train. The next morning, due to a documented signal failure, the train departed early. Thomas Whitmore arrived on the platform moments too late. At first, the family dismissed it as coincidence. But coincidences began piling up. Clara started mentioning letters before they were opened, describing their contents word for word. She corrected people about conversations she had never been present for. On March 8th, she casually mentioned the death of a distant cousin who, according to all known information, was alive and well. 2 days later, a telegram arrived confirming the exact cause of death she had described. What unsettled people most was not just her accuracy, but her certainty. She never hesitated, never framed her statements as guesses. When questioned, she seemed confused by the confusion of others. To her, the information felt familiar, almost remembered. Her speech began to change next, though few noticed at first. Clara spoke of future events as if recalling them, and referred to past moments as unfinished. She told her mother, "I already remember your grief." Days before the family received news of a death, those who listened closely reported feeling disoriented, as if the air thickened around them while she spoke. One woman complained of dizziness and a sudden chill despite the room being warm. When a local doctor, Samuel Crowley, was finally called, he expected hysteria. What he found instead left him unsettled. Clara's pulse registered at 38 beats per minute, dangerously low, yet she showed no signs of distress. Her body temperature fluctuated rapidly, rising and falling by several degrees within minutes without external cause. No known condition explained it. Her breathing remained calm, her awareness sharp. Crowley attempted explanations with confidence at first. He tested reflexes, checked pupils, measured respiration. Each theory collapsed under its own contradictions. Clara responded to questions before they were fully asked, finishing sentences in ways that suggested anticipation rather than inference. In his private journal, Crowley wrote that her body appeared to be responding to conditions that did not exist. Soon, the effect spread beyond Clara herself. After prolonged conversations with her, several people reported vivid dreams of events that later occurred exactly as imagined. 3 separate witnesses described seeing the same incident days before it happened. Fear took hold. People began limiting contact. Children were kept away. Curtains were drawn when Clara passed. Authorities suspected deception. An inspector was brought in, convinced it was an elaborate fraud. During questioning, Clara calmly informed him of a reassignment order he had not yet received. The order arrived 3 days later. The investigation ended quietly. On April 2nd, Clara announced, without emotion, that she would not finish the week. That night, she collapsed in her bedroom. By the time help arrived, she was unresponsive. No signs of struggle. No signs of illness. An examination revealed nothing that could explain her death. The official records cited an unknown neurological failure, a phrase that satisfied paperwork but answered nothing. Her belongings were sealed. The family withdrew from public life. The photograph taken weeks earlier became the only remaining proof that Clara Whitmore had once been ordinary. In the decades that followed, similar cases surfaced briefly, then disappeared. Always ordinary individuals. Always sudden knowledge. Always no explanation. Modern researchers reviewing the records have ruled out fraud, illness, and coincidence. No theory fully accounts for what happened. What Clara Whitmore experienced represents one of the most carefully documented transformations in human history. Multiple physicians examined her. Authorities investigated. Modern science reviewed the data. Every conclusion leads to the same impossibility. The human mind should not be able to access information that does not yet exist. And yet, she did. Have you ever known someone who changed in ways that felt biologically impossible? Someone who seemed to know too much too soon? Stories like Clara's suggest that the limits of the human mind may not be as fixed as we believe. Because some photographs don't just capture a face. They capture the final moment before reality stops behaving the way it should.